Hello everyone. So in this video we'll be talking about using factories in Java. So we'll be going through what factories are and how to implement them in Java programming language. So let's get started. And the first thing is what's a factory? So if we talk about real world, then factory is simply an industry where you give some raw material and you get an output. Out in the sense that a finalized product. So the factory in the programming language is quite analogous to that in the real world. Here you provide some identifier and you get a product back, which can be an object or a primitive value, depending upon your implementations. So there is nothing very complicated in this factory. A very common example that we use day to day in our programming language for a factory is hash map, where you provide a key and a value, and whenever you want the value, you simply provide the map with the key, and it gives you the value. So the key here that you give the map is the raw material, and the value that you get is something like the product you want. So, if we talk about implementing this in Java, then factory is nothing but an abstraction or map that provides quite a few advantages over using a simple map. So, we'll be going through what's a common structure for a factory, and then we'll see a code example for the same. So, any factory that you want to implement will be defined by an interface. You can call this interface a factory itself. So this interface will have your two methods in this. First one is add. Add simply takes a key for you, takes a key and a value that it puts it into some data store, from where you can use the get method to fetch the value using the key. So it is a simple map kind of operation itself, where you define these two methods. And since it is an interface, you cannot create an instance out of it. So for this, you'll have to create a concrete implementation of this factory. So there will be a concrete factory which will contain a data store. Most commonly used data store for a factory is a map itself that we already saw. So whenever you go to add a value, you simply put that key into the map and along with the corresponding value. And whenever you try to get this value, you just supply the get method with the key and you get the value back. So this is simple blueprint of factory that you are going to use whenever you are implementing a factory. So there can be multiple concrete factories out of it. This is the factory one. Then you can have another factories. You can define your add and get methods and the data types according to your use. So we'll go through an example here. So before going to this example, I will try to explain you the scenario, like what's the problem here. So suppose you have uh, something beverage shop. Let's suppose you have a beverage shop. So a user comes to this shop and asks you some beverage. Suppose the user asks for tea. Now you go and ask your beverage machine factory. There is a beverage machine factory. This is your beverage machine factory, which simply has these machines for preparing each kind of drink, which is tea machine, suppose, and a coffee machine maybe. Coffee machine. So you simply take the input from the user that he wants a tea beverage, and you supply it with your the input to the beverage factory, machine factory. From there, this machine factory supplies you with the tea machine. It gives you the tea machine, and there you simply use the machine to give the tea back to the user, prepared tea. So this is the final output and this is the input. This is the input that the user gave you and you prepared a tea out of it using this beverage machine factory. And then yeah, then the output to corresponding input is the prepared tea here. But the what the output the machine factory gave you is simply a machine to prepare tea. So we'll see this in code example as well. So if we go back to the old slide, like previous slide, we have the most basic component, that is our factory interface. This will be common to every factory we create. And then we create this beverage factory. Maybe better to call it a beverage machine factory according to our example. This is your beverage machine factory. And this simply contains the map that we discussed about earlier. This map has this key as a string where we supply the input as tea, coffee, or any beverage that we want. And the value that it stores is the machine itself. This machine is nothing but this interface, if you see. So this machine has this prepare method, which simply like prepares according to the concrete implementation of this. So for sake of simplicity, we have these two machines here. One is the tea machine, and these is the coffee machine, and they have their own implementation of this prepare method. These are concrete classes, so they'll have some definition of this method. So this is simple override, if you understand. They are implementing this beverage machine interface. Now we have our two blueprint methods, that is add and get. So simply we call upon the add method here and add the corresponding key and value into the map, and then we get the value from using this key via the get method. So this is the basic structure for our beverage machine factory. Now we'll look the same into the code itself. So here, if you see, we have this beverage machine interface that we saw. So this have like two implementation, the tea machine and the coffee machine. And in this we have the independent definition of prepare method, which is for tea machine, it is preparing tea, it just logs out that it is preparing tea. And in the case of beverage machine, it is like logging that in case of coffee machine, it is logging that it is preparing coffee. So generally these files, like these implementations are in separate file, but for this example I'm taking them in same file. So we have usually the independent files for each of our product that we are keeping in the factory. Now if we look at our factory here, so the common interface that we are going to use is, as we saw in the slides, have the add and get methods using the Java generics key value pair. And then we create our beverage factory. Again, this can be better called as beverage machine factory. And this implements the same interface that we saw. This one here, if you see, it implements the same factory interface with the defined data type, that is string, and value is the beverage machine. Now, and the add simply takes the key, that is the string, and it puts the value, that is a machine, beverage machine itself. Now, if we go to our main method here, where we are using this factory. So in the main method, we simply like create a new beverage factory for our use case, and we add the string t as key and the tea machine as the value, and the string coffee and the value is the coffee machine. So here we ask the user to provide the input to whatever drink he wants. So according to that, coffee or tea, we simply from the beverage factory we get the machine based on the user input and then call the prepare method on that. So it is like quite a simple example where no like it is dynamically using the user input to prepare the drink for it. You see the example. If you here can see the execution of the code. So here you can see the user has the input T and we got the output as preparing T. So this can also be achieved by using simple if else. If you are thinking about that if the user input is if user input is equal to t, simply create a t machine here. We're using the new operator. We will create t machine, and then we'll call the prepare method on this new object. And for coffee machine, we'll have the else if here. And if we want to add more drinks here, we'll have to create more else ifs here. So it will eventually lead to an if else chain here, which is not a good thing for our code. And also it violates the open close principle from the solid principles that we know here, because we are modifying the original class for adding new drinks. This should not be the case, but by using factory, what we do, we keep this class untouched, and we create a new input simply. For example, if it is a milkshake, we will add in the factory a key with the value milkshake and a milkshake machine that will have its own prepare method. And upon the user input, we simply get this machine using this key and call the prepare method on this. So no such chain is required. We can dynamically add our keys and corresponding objects, and we can dynamically execute the code out of it. And it also guarantees the single responsibility principle as the single responsibility as the like responsibility of creating new objects is not in the main code anymore. It is separated out to a different file where usually this file is the one where we do all our dynamic initialization in the code. So the objects are the factory itself is created in that file, and from there we just fetch the corresponding machine and call the prepare method on it. So these two principles are ensured here. Also, factory method is very commonly used in few design patterns. The very common one is the strategy pattern. So it is a common example of where we will be using this factories a lot. So for this video, that will be it. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe for more videos for design patterns. Thanks.